Hi, I'm Ari, I'm the Oak Witch, and in today's video let's discuss advancing beyond the beginner mindset. So, not gonna lie, uni has been a struggle lately, and I thought I would make this video just have a sit down and chat with a cup of tea and discuss this topic which I've wanted to talk about for a while now. A comment which I've actually had before is a video request for advanced books in witchcraft, like advanced book recommendations. Now this isn't to shade the person who said this at all, it's a valid request. However, I think there is a misconception that there even are advanced witchcraft books. Before we get into that idea, something I guess to bring up is, like I've said before on this channel, your progress as a witch, as a magical practitioner, is not really going to necessarily look linear. It's not going to look like a straight narrow path. You may take numerous different paths, you may go round and round in circles, you're going to come across obstacles, you're going to come across setbacks, you might take long breaks, you might actually not take any breaks ever. I mean, it's whatever your journey looks like is going to look really different to each witch, to each magical practitioner. And I think what many people tend to stumble across is getting out of this beginner surface level witchcraft. Now, I don't say surface level in a derogatory way, I just mean that for what it is, for people practicing the eclectic witchcraft you see in a lot of Witchy 101 and don't necessarily advance further. And you get a lot of people asking for a more advanced witchcraft content, but the reason why people don't necessarily make that content is because what advanced looks like actually looks really different to whatever journey, whatever path, whatever tradition you sort of follow down. A book I've read recently which really goes over this topic well is a recent release, and it's Thorn Mooney's The Witcher's Path. Now, I'm plugging this book because it is such a good book. I truly recommend this book to anyone from any level of experience, whether or not you're a complete beginner or whether or not you're a really experienced witch. I think this book is for you. I think this book it's so inspiring and it's so uplifting and comforting and grounded. It's not a Witchy 101 book, but it is the book I think every witch needs to read. In terms of this topic which I'm talking about today, if you want to advance your craft, if you want to go a step further, and I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up this book in this video because this book has inspired a lot of the topic that I'm talking about today, and I really recommend you guys to read it. So yeah, go read that. Anyway, something which I think is a really important discussion here, which Thorn does touch on in the book, is this idea of an advanced mindset. So in that example of someone coming to me asking for an advanced witch books video, it's not quite as simple as that. I think, if anything, we shouldn't be looking for advanced books, but using the books that we have, of which there are so many witchcraft books now. There is so much resource material, there's so much content that we have now which we didn't necessarily have access to not that long ago. And it's about taking this content, this beginner content, and applying it to your practice, actually doing the exercises, actually taking inspiration, adapting the knowledge we have, getting creative with this information and building your craft around it. Something which I briefly mentioned before is this idea of getting specific in your craft or narrowing down into a tradition. You can be eclectic and advanced, obviously, but when we're getting into this idea of, you know, where are the advanced books or where is the advanced content, the type of advanced material you would be looking at depends on where your craft is, what it looks like. Let's use myself as an example. So I grew up mainly centering around eclectic paganism and, you know, like eclectic witchcraft based off of things I could find from like random books I had, but mostly online. It was very surface level eclectic witchcraft, and I fully admit that. That's just what I had at the time, and that's fine. As my path grew, I narrowed down more into heathenry, Reconstructionism, which I'm stepping away from now because I've gone through big changes in my polytheistic practice, which I won't really discuss on YouTube, but just saying. And then also more towards English folk magic practice. Now, there aren't witchy 101 English folk magic books. Not really. There's one that comes to mind which I'm not naming and shaming, but I didn't like that book, but that aside. The closest thing that I can think of is Troy Books, which have a couple releases which centre regional specific English folk magic in a sort of beginner friendly format, like Gemma Gary's book, and there's that Val Thomas of Chalk and Flint with Norfolk folk magic, and a book I'm currently reading is Devil's Plantation by Nigel J. Pearson, which is just East Anglia in general. Good books, by the way, but can you see where I'm getting at, that they're specific to a region of English folk magic? Whereas the Witchy 101 books are more broad in their topics and have a varied amount of things that they go over. So you'll find in Witchy 101 books they talk about, maybe talk about meditation, maybe they talk about energy, maybe they talk about herbs, maybe they talk about crystals, maybe talk about some spells for different, you know, love or prosperity or protection. They sort of go over a varied amount of topics which are very sort of like the basics in terms of what is a witch. Nothing wrong with them, I think they're lovely and I own a few of them and I enjoy reading them. But when we're getting into what makes your craft advanced or advanced books, you're going to start getting into books which are about specific topics. So again, going back to myself as an example, when I'm researching English folk magic, I'm looking at archaeological records. I'm looking at research articles, I'm looking at history, looking at British history. I'm looking at books that would be under the history section of a bookstore rather than the mind, body, spirit section, you know? That's when you're getting into the advanced books. When you're doing deeper and more specific research, that's where you'll find the advanced path you're heading towards. So, bearing this all in mind, when you're getting into this idea of actually stepping out of that beginner phase into your intermediate and more advanced craft, it's about finding what makes sense to you, what is your purpose, and this is something which, again, Thorne Mooney's book goes really well into. What is your purpose for practicing witchcraft? What do you want to get out of this? Once you figure out your purpose, your aim, your objective, or just, you know, the reason why you're interested in this side of spirituality, I think you'll find that actually you start building a craft which is much more personal, it's much more authentic to you, and it's a lot more specialised in a way. You start getting into more specific paths, and this is where you can take that path, and bearing in mind this might change as you grow. You know, my purpose for witchcraft has grown over the years and it will continue to grow, and that's completely fine, you know? I think it's okay to allow yourself to explore things without holding that responsibility of sticking to the path. Go down a path with the knowledge that actually you can step away from it if you wanted to. If you actually found, if right now you're thinking, yes, this is why I'm on this path in this tradition and this makes sense to me and I just want to pursue this and nothing else, but actually, you know, in the next year or so you find yourself thinking, oh, this is not for me at all, that's completely fine. Take a step back, engage in some self-reflection, introspection, and explore more, you know? And that's where I guess I'm getting at, in the sense of progress is not linear, and I think it is misleading to put these labels of beginner and advanced or intermediate, because when you do come across these things and you have to take a step back and you have to start again, you do find yourself as a beginner again. I think labels such as, you know, advanced or a master in the craft, I don't know, I'm not sure I like them too much because I'm not sure how realistic they are. As I hinted at before in my polytheistic practice, where I've begun a new journey, I found myself as a complete beginner again. I'm going back to just basic research on a specific thing and building my polytheistic practice up from the ground again, and it's scary. I feel like a beginner again because I am in that specific topic, in that research, and that's completely fine. Doesn't rid me of any experience I've had before in, you know, my pagan practice. Just means that I'm doing a new thing, and of that newness comes this sense of being a beginner, and yeah, and that's completely fine. This idea of advancing beyond the beginner mindset is to actually adopt a advanced mindset, to change how you're thinking, how you view your progression. One thing I will say is that there aren't any advanced books because there isn't any advanced information that will suddenly make you advanced. The whole point of the craft and advancing in your craft and your journey, your progression, is to do that work yourself. There is no book that can do that for you. Books, blogs, articles, researching, all of that knowledge being absorbed is great, but what is most crucial is experience. Knowledge and experience should be the two sides of the same coin in this perspective of advancing your witchcraft practice, because witchcraft is a practice, and yes, knowledge and research is an integral part to a lot of witchcraft journeys, but there's no book which can help you get that experience for you. The whole point is doing the work to gain that experience, and that experience will be what truly gives you that knowledge, if that makes any sense. The experience will be your greatest teacher, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And I think that's something to consider when we're getting into this idea of advancing your craft and people asking for advanced books. But actually, the experience level of advanced is not something which can be taught to you. It's something that you experience and teach yourself. And then you will get there with practice, with time. And that's another thing to just emphasize, is that it takes time. Advancing in a craft, in any magical practice, is not something which happens overnight or with one book or with even 10. And again, people progress at very different rates. What time it takes me to learn something and master the skill may take someone 10 times longer, or someone may do it much quicker than I can. And this is where we get this idea of comparing ourselves to other witches and other people's journeys, and it's very unfair to do this to ourselves. We do it, and that's the problem with the internet as well, which doesn't help with that. But again, just comfort yourself in that we all take our own time to do these things. We all figure things out at different paces, at different parts in our journey. And so long as you're focused on your progression, your journey, your well-being, honestly, that's all that matters. It's very easy to compare ourselves, especially in online communities. The idea of advancing in your craft is something which is going to look very personal to you. So hence why there isn't really any advanced books as people think about witchy 101 books. Because this idea of advancing in your craft is something which is very personal. It's very subjective to you, depending on what tradition, paradigm, path, journey you're going down towards. That concept of advancing is specific to your craft. Yeah, I just feel like I rambled for so long. I didn't have a script for this video, by the way. I just sat down and just decided to talk. And I hope that I've made any sense. But yeah, that's it from me today, honestly. I think I've spoken enough. I think I've made any sense. I think I've missed out a few things I wanted to say, but it's too late now. If you have any thoughts about this discussion, I'd love to see them in the comments. If you have any ideas for what I should discuss in this format next, do let me know. I am always open to video suggestions. If you like this discussion, I'd love it if you left a like. It means a lot to me. And I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.